Imagine waking up, checking your bank account tomorrow morning, and seeing a 400% raise.
Oh, I mean, I probably think I finally made it, right?
Right. Your first thought is you were rich. But then you look a little closer and, well, you realize it is just a massive bank error.
Ah, the dreaded bank error.
Exactly. You are rich today, sure, but your actual salary, it hasn't moved a single cent. You are still grinding it out at the exact same pay rate.
Which is a pretty sobering reality check.
It is, and that is essentially the optical illusion Nike just pulled off in their latest earnings report. So welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Whether you are an internet listener trying to read the global economic tea leaves, a retail strategist, or, just a sneakerhead wondering where the culture is shifting next, we are taking a massive stack of sources regarding Nike's Q4 and full-year fiscal 2026 earnings, and we're extracting the signal from the noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise in this one.
Tons of it. Our mission today is to decode the complex financial reality beneath the flashy headlines, analyze this massive friction between lifestyle fashion and true athletic performance, and figure out what Nike's internal overhaul means for you and for the future of the entire retail sector.
It really is a phenomenal case study in corporate identity. Turnaround stories, they're rarely neat and tidy.
Oh, definitely not.
And what the sources reveal here is a company wrestling with a fundamental identity crisis. I mean, for the past decade, Nike leaned heavily into becoming a lifestyle and fashion powerhouse.
Right.
But now, macroeconomic pressures are forcing them into a massive strategic retreat back to their hardcore athletic roots.
So let's pull the thread on that bank error analogy to start, because anyone just skimming the financial news, they would think Nike is defying gravity right now.
Oh, completely. The headline numbers look insane.
Yeah, the headline number is staggering. Net income skyrocketed 407% to $1.07 billion for the quarter. Earnings per share hit 72 cents.
Which sounds incredible.
Right. If we stop there, the narrative is that Nike just invented a shoe that makes you levitate. But the core operating engine of the company, it isn't actually accelerating at all, is it?
No, not at all. The underlying reality is actually quite sober. We have to look past the bottom line and examine the currency-neutral revenue.
And for anyone who isn't a financial analyst, what does that actually mean in plain English?
Good question. It basically strips out fluctuating global exchange rates. So it just shows us the raw sales volume, like how much physical product they're actually moving.
Got it. And what was that number?
That number was actually down 4%.
Wait, down 4%?
Yeah. So Nike is moving less physical product, yet showing a 400% profit jump.
That is wild.
It is. The mechanism behind this anomaly is an unexpected $986 million tariff refund.
Ah, this is the IEPA ruling?
Precisely. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down global duties related to the International Emergency Economic Powers Act.
Right.
And historically, Nike-like, any conservative financial operation, they had been paying these tariffs and expensing them steadily throughout the entire year.
Just treating it as a normal cost of doing business.
Exactly. But when the ruling unexpectedly came down in their favor, they recognized a nearly billion-dollar one-time benefit. So it's a sudden cash injection that just wildly flatters the quarterly report.
So this massive profit jump is essentially like finding a $100 bill in your winter coat. I mean, it's great for your wallet today, but it doesn't mean your actual salary went up.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Because if we strip that billion-dollar windfall out of the equation, the adjusted earnings per share falls back to a very grounded 20 cents.
Which is a huge drop from 72 cents.
Yeah. And more importantly, if we look at their gross margins, which, usually tell us how efficiently a company is making and selling its goods, those actually contracted by 10 basis points.
Yeah. And that margin contraction, that is the real tell here.
How so?
Well, it reflects the harsh reality of their internal restructuring. Nike took significant severance hits from recent corporate layoffs.
Ah, right.
So you have the scenario where sales volume is slightly down, operational costs took a hit from severance, but a legal ruling masks it all with a billion-dollar Band-Aid.
Which means we need to look way beyond the headline numbers to see what consumers are actually doing.
Exactly.
Full-year revenue was essentially flat at $46.4 billion. But, a flat top line usually hides massive turbulence underneath.
Oh, absolutely.
If the pie is the exact same size as last year, the slices inside that pie, they must be changing shape. So what are people actually buying?
Well, they are buying utility over aesthetic right now.
Yeah.
The sources highlight this dramatic wardrobe shift.
Okay.
Nike's sportswear and Jordan streetwear categories, so, the retro sneakers, the limited edition fashion drops, they experienced a steep double-digit decline.
Wow, double digits.
Yeah. But in stark contrast, their performance sports gear grew in the mid-single digits.
Bah.
And the crown jewel right now, Nike running.
Really? Just running?
Just running. Over the last 5 quarters, the running category has expanded by roughly $1 billion.
$1 billion in organic growth just in running gear. That is huge.
It's massive.
I mean, that implies a massive shift in consumer psychology. Are we seeing the death of the athleisure and retro sneaker boom?
I wouldn't call it a death. It is less about the death of a trend and more about the brutal reality of current macroeconomics.
Okay, unpack that for me.
When you look at the earnings call transcripts, management repeatedly flags that global consumers are under intense pressure. Discretionary income is shrinking.
Due to inflation, volatile gas prices, all that uncertainty.
Exactly. So it comes down to a hierarchy of needs for the consumer.
So if I am feeling the pinch at the grocery store, I am highly likely to delay buying a 4th pair of retro Jordans just because they match my new hoodie.
Right, because that is a pure fashion purchase.
Yeah. But if I am training for a half marathon and the tread on my Pegasus running shoes wears out, I have to replace them. The utility makes the purchase non-negotiable.
That is the exact mechanism driving this shift. True performance gear is proving highly resilient in a tough economy because it acts almost like a utility for the active consumer.
That makes total sense.
But we also have to acknowledge that Nike is not just a passive victim of changing tastes here. They are actively forcing a market reset.
Forcing it? How?
The sources show they deliberately starved the market of more than $2 billion worth of classic footwear franchises.
Wait, hold on. I need to pause on that. They intentionally withheld $2 billion of guaranteed legacy product sales.
Yep, $2 billion.
That sounds like financial self-sabotage, especially when top-line revenue is struggling to grow. Why sacrifice guaranteed money right now?
Because of the scarcity model that drives sneaker culture. Think about it. If everyone has access to a specific vintage silhouette, let's say a Panda Dunk or an Air Force One, it immediately loses its cultural cachet.
Right. It stops being cool if everyone has it.
Exactly. It transitions from a coveted item to a commodity. By pulling $2 billion in inventory out of the market, they are intentionally taking a painful hit to the top line today to artificially induce scarcity.
Wow.
It cleans up the clearance racks, it resets the brand's premium status, and it builds latent demand for when they, eventually decide to turn the faucet back on.
So it is a calculated gamble. They are essentially burning the ships of their lifestyle revenue to force the entire company to focus on the performance side.
That's a great way to put it.
And that brings us to the logistics of how they are actually executing this pivot. They're calling it the sport offense, right?
Yes, the sport offense.
The sources say they physically moved 8,000 employees into new roles. I mean, moving 8,000 people is not a strategy shift. It is a corporate earthquake.
It really is.
How does moving all those people actually change the way a shoe gets made?
It changes the entire internal reporting structure. Previously, Nike operated on this horizontal matrix model.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
Well, a footwear designer might report to a general VP of footwear. And on Monday, they are sketching a basketball shoe, but by Wednesday, they are tweaking a lifestyle hoodie.
Oh, I see.
The R&D and marketing were spread across broad categories, which led to a very generic, fashion-first approach.
So, jack of all trades, master of none.
Precisely. The sport offense completely dismantles that matrix. They have shifted to vertical, sport-specific silos.
Meaning everyone is focused on just one thing.
Exactly. The people designing the shoe, formulating the marketing campaign, and planning the retail rollout are now completely walled off and obsessing over one specific sport.
So a designer on the basketball team is only looking at basketball biomechanics.
Yes, and that drastically accelerates the R&D pipeline because the entire team's incentives and metrics are aligned purely with the performance of that specific athlete.
And we are already seeing the real-world application of this vertical integration, right? The data from this summer's global football tournaments is phenomenal.
Oh, it's staggering.
In the first week alone, they hit 1.5 billion views on their marketing stories.
Billion, with a B.
Yeah. And their national team kits, which feature this new AeroPit technology, which is designed for extreme heat and moisture management, were selling 2.5 times faster than they did during the 2022 World Cup.
And that AeroPit technology is a perfect example of why the vertical structure works. It is a deeply technical, performance-driven innovation.
Right.
But the brilliance of the strategy lies in what CEO Elliott Hill calls the halo effect.
Halo effect. I love that term.
Yeah, you lead with authentic, highly technical sports performance, and that generates a cultural heat that trickles down to everything else the brand does.
The sources outline a very specific grassroots activation for this too, the TOMA tournament.
Yes, the Toma tournament is fascinating.
They organized this global football tournament reaching over 10,000 kids across 25 cities. It sounds like standard corporate philanthropy on the surface, but the underlying business mechanism is super clever.
It really is. What did you take away from it?
Well, they equipped these kids with high-performance gear, like the new Mercurial cleats, right? And those cleats ended up being their fastest-selling 24-hour launch for cleated footwear in Nike Direct history.
And the mechanism there is pure validation. When you authentically connect with a kid on the pitch and provide a product that materially improves their game, you establish undeniable athletic credibility.
They trust the brand.
Exactly. That kid now trusts Nike as a sports brand first. Consequently, when that same kid goes shopping for a lifestyle hoodie or, a pair of sneakers to wear to school, they choose Nike.
Because the performance on the pitch validated the culture on the street.
Exactly.
But, that localized loyalty in global football doesn't easily translate to every single market. The playbook they are using to win over a kid in Paris completely breaks down when you look at what is happening globally.
Very true.
We have to look at the two most critical battlegrounds for Nike right now, Greater China and North America. The contrast in their strategies here is night and day.
Greater China is highly complex right now. Revenue there dropped 12% to $1.3 billion for the quarter.
Right.
And while that actually beat Wall Street estimates, a 12% contraction demands a total strategic overhaul.
Wait, I need to push back on the China strategy outlined in the sources.
Sure, go ahead.
So they're clearing out old inventory and leaning into premium retail spaces like the House of Innovation in Shanghai, which saw double-digit growth. That part makes sense.
Yep.
But the third pillar is hyper-localization. They are setting up a local product team to design, develop, and manufacture products specifically for China, but it won't even deliver until holiday 2027.
That's right.
That is a massive capital expenditure when revenue is already sinking. How does that math actually work? Why not just export the global hits?
Because exporting global hits is exactly what caused the 12% drop in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Chinese consumer market is evolving faster than global supply chains can manage. If a trend sparks in Shanghai, Nike cannot wait for a design team in Portland to notice it, spend a year prototyping it, and then ship it across the Pacific.
Right. By the time the shoe arrives, the trend is dead.
Completely dead. So they are bleeding revenue now because they are too slow.
So the heavy capital expenditure to build a localized supply chain is basically a survival mechanism.
Yes. To win in China, they must move at the speed of the Chinese consumer. By establishing local manufacturing and design, they drastically shorten the lead time from concept to shelf.
It is a painful investment for the next few quarters, but it sounds like it's the only mathematical path to long-term market share in such a hyper-agile economy.
It is.
It is like they are practically rebuilding the engine while driving.
That's exactly what they're doing.
But if we pivot back to North America, revenue grew a steady 3%. It is not a rocket ship, but the mechanics of how they achieved it are entirely different.
Very different.
The detail that stood out heavily in the sources was regarding Foot Locker. Nike's revenue and retail sales with Foot Locker were positive for the first time in 4 years.
And that is a critical metric for their broader wholesale strategy. For a long time, Nike aggressively cut ties with traditional retail partners.
Right, to force consumers into their own direct-to-consumer digital channels.
Exactly. So rebuilding that wholesale relationship with Foot Locker is essentially like reopening a blocked artery.
Oh, I like that.
Nike doesn't have to spend capital building new physical stores or acquiring new digital customers. They just restore the flow of product to the extremities of the market through an established partner.
In North America, they're just optimizing the engine they already have.
Precisely. And that optimization is going to be vital because the immediate future is not looking particularly rosy.
Oh, right. Let's talk about the outlook.
When management provided their outlook for fiscal year 27, they delivered a very sobering reality check. For the first and second quarters, revenues are expected to be down in the low to mid-single digits.
So Wall Street is going to have to stomach a few more quarters of shrinking sales.
Yes, and Q2 is going to be particularly punishing because of year-over-year comparisons.
Why is that?
Last year, Nike relied heavily on digital promotions and deep discounts to clear out excess product, particularly in Europe. It juiced their sales numbers temporarily.
Ah, okay.
But this year, they are adamantly refusing to pull that digital discount lever.
They are holding the line on price.
Yep.
And that ties back to the scarcity model we discussed earlier. Selling at full price protects the premium status of the brand, but it means they're going to take a vicious hit on the top-line revenue comparison.
It is a bitter pill for investors who want perpetual growth.
It is, but there's a structural upside, right? While revenue is projected to dip, Nike actually expects their gross margins to expand starting in Q1.
Yes, they do.
Wait, how do you make a better margin while selling fewer shoes at a time when raw materials are so expensive?
By becoming a significantly leaner machine. That margin expansion is driven by structural supply chain efficiencies, lower global freight costs, and, well, the harsh but financially impactful reality of the 1,400 jobs they cut earlier in the year.
They lowered their operational overhead.
Exactly. So even if the total volume of shoes sold decreases, the profit percentage they retain on every individual pair increases.
That makes sense. And actually, before we go any further, I need to jump in with a quick note. As a quick reminder to you listening, the information and analysis we are discussing here are simply to help everyone better understand the market and consumer trends. This is not investment advice.
Definitely not.
Investing involves risks, so be sure to do your thorough homework before entering the market or consult a professional financial advisor.
That is a crucial reminder, particularly because the external environment dictating these supply chains remains incredibly volatile.
The macro environment.
Right. Management was transparent that macroeconomic headwinds are totally beyond their control. Think about the cascading effects of fluctuating oil prices.
Right. Oil isn't just about the cost of putting gas in the delivery trucks. It fundamentally impacts the cost of the synthetic rubbers and EVA foams used to manufacture the midsoles of the shoes.
Exactly. Add to that the ongoing geopolitical disruptions in the Middle East, which, force cargo ships to take longer, more expensive routes.
Drastically altering global shipping logistics.
Right. And of course, the evolving landscape of international tariff policies, which, as we saw with the nearly billion-dollar IEPA ruling, can swing the financial reality of a quarter overnight.
So these external pressures will continue to squeeze operating costs regardless of how perfectly Nike executes their internal restructuring.
Absolutely. They have to navigate it carefully.
So let's pull all these threads together. What we are witnessing is a legacy giant trying to execute a handbrake turn while steering a very heavy ship through a macroeconomic storm.
That is a very accurate picture.
They are making incredibly painful, deliberate choices. They're sacrificing billions in guaranteed retro streetwear revenue. They're refusing to discount products just to juice quarterly numbers. And they're taking the short-term financial hits necessary to clear out old inventory.
The full reset.
Everything is pivoting back to the foundation, authentic, vertical sports innovation, and repairing relationships with key local and global partners.
It is a profound rejection of the idea that they can just be a fashion brand. They are betting their entire future viability on athletic credibility being the engine that drives the culture.
I think CEO Elliott Hill perfectly encapsulated the psychology of this moment during the earnings call.
He had a really good quote.
He did. He didn't promise Wall Street a quick fix or, a magical new sneaker drop that would solve everything. Instead, he used an analogy that grounds the entire strategy. He compared Nike's current situation to the New York Knicks winning an NBA championship.
A fitting analogy for a brand trying to reclaim its sports heritage.
Exactly. He pointed out that a championship is never built on one lucky buzzer beater or a single easy sweep in the playoffs. It is built over a grueling season through massive setbacks.
All right.
It requires an entire organization buying into a specific system where everyone knows their highly specialized role, which perfectly mirrors their 8,000-person vertical restructure.
It really does.
He talked about the mental fortitude of fighting out of double-digit deficits, refusing to panic, and just going to work, chipping away at the problem, possession by possession.
It is a necessary mentality shift for a company used to effortless cultural dominance. Acknowledging that the turnaround will be a methodical grind rather than a sudden sprint is healthy.
Yeah.
But if we zoom out and look at the broader cultural horizon, this intense pivot raises a critical question that the earnings data cannot answer.
Oh, what is the blind spot?
The definition of the playing field itself.
How so?
Well, Nike is betting billions of dollars and completely restructuring their global workforce on the premise that traditional physical sports running, basketball, global football will remain the ultimate arbiters of youth culture.
Okay, I see where you're going.
But As the next generation fundamentally redefines what sport even is, continuously blurring the lines between physical athletics, digital spaces, and global esports, you have to wonder,
Oh, wow.
will this traditional sport offense playbook still hold the power to dictate global culture a decade from now? Or is Nike perfecting a strategy for a playing field that is already shifting beneath their feet?
Now, that is a truly provocative thought to chew on.
Yeah,
Perfecting the engine just as the consumer decides they want to fly instead of drive.
exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the headlines, look closely at the mechanisms behind the numbers, and we will catch you next time.